K-Water is a public company specialized in water resources management. We provide various international water education programs for the developing countries to solve water-related issues all around the world. Today, we will talk about domestic and overseas new renewable energy policies to overcome the climate change crisis and K-Water's water-related renewable energy business. The COVID-19 pandemic has immensely affected all over the world since 2019. Haeundae Beach Road, once crowded with tourists during the holidays, become quiet, sea turtles have been returning to the beach, the Himalayan mountains become noticeable in 30 years, and fine dust in China declined rapidly. All of these amazing phenomena have been witnessed worldwide. There is one thing in common with these amazing phenomena. All of those were caused as social distancing makes the Earth take a rest. Earth Overshoot Day means the date when humanity's demand for ecological resources and services in a given year exceeds what Earth can regenerate in that year. This year, when the COVID-19 outbreak started, the total amount of carbon dioxide the Earth has to deal with has decreased by 14.5%, and deforestation has decreased by 8.4% compared to last year. Thus, the day was expected to be August 22nd, 24 days later than July 29th. The Earth Overshoot Day of last year. And there have been many changes at home and abroad to overcome climate change. The world is searching for countermeasures against global climate change and pushing ahead with nationwide carbon reduction and renewable energy expansion for more powerful and more effective greenhouse gas reduction policies. The Paris Agreement 2015 suggested a goal to keep the global average temperature rise below 2 degrees and even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius in comparison to pre-industrialization, and requested the establishment of the 2050 Long-Term Low-Carbon Development Strategy by 2020. The EU has announced a strong reduction policy with the introduction of a carbon tariff that costs as much as the carbon emissions and helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions through the Green Deal 2030 in 2019. 73 countries joined as the EU declared a goal for achieving carbon neutrality. As a result, the new climate regime will be launched in 2021 to enhance efforts to cope with global climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. There have been also many efforts in Korea to realize a sustainable low-carbon green society by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The goal is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 37% compared to BAU by 2030 and increase the percentage of the country's renewable energy up to 30 to 35% by 2040. Additionally, the Korean government declared its full-scale promotion of 2050 Low-Carbon Development Strategy for presenting medium and long-term visions for zero-carbon economy and society for the implementation of the new climate regime, and carried out RE100 support plan for Green New Deal. The RE100 stands for Renewable Energy 100, which aims to replace 100% of the power used by a corporation with renewable energy. This campaign also provides an opportunity for a company to voluntarily participate in the environmental movement and rebrand its image. Next, let's take a look at what the national top renewable energy corporation, K-Water, is doing for net zero. K-Water is striving to achieve a sustainable green society. We have operated 1,364 megawatt of eco-friendly power plants such as hydropower, hydrothermal, solar, tidal, and wind power plants, and lowered the greenhouse gas emissions by 151% compared to the average over the past 5 years. Furthermore, we have declared net zero with a new vision of people-centered water management. And we have pushed with carbon-neutral water management to respond to climate crisis by expanding clean water energy and introducing energy-saving pacification plant. K-Water plans to significantly expand the production of clean water energy, such as water floating, photovoltaic energy, and hydrothermal energy. K-Water also does to realize low-energy water management with the carbon-free net-zero purification plants and distributed water supply. On top of that, 21,000 tons of carbon dioxide will be reduced by 2030, and carbon neutrality will be applied to 43 water treatment facilities. For action plans, we will push ahead with the expansion of renewable energy, high-efficiency facilities, and green buildings that is highly effective in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We will install solar power generation systems in spare areas, such as rooftops of office buildings and water purification plants. We have a plan to operate the heating and cooling facilities of buildings with hydrothermal energy to reduce cooling and heating energy by more than 30%. We will change transformers and motors to high-efficiency systems in order to not only realize the consumption structure focusing on power demand management, which is a national policy, but also to contribute to carbon neutrality. Then, let's move on to the next chapter to see the case of renewable energy using K-Water water. K-Water has 1,364 megawatts of hydropower, hydrothermal, solar, tidal, and wind power plants. Let's take a look at 4 new and renewable energy sources using water. First, hydropower generation. K-Water manages multi-purpose dams capable of hydroelectric power generation. Hydropower plants occupy about 80% of the total capacity of 1,364 megawatts. Hydropower generation is based on the principle of generating kinetic energy as turbines rotate when potential energy of water inside the dam passes through the penstock. Electricity is generated by rotating a generator connected to the turbine with a shaft. The capacity of hydropower plant depends on the discharge, the fall head, and the efficiency of the turbines and generators. In addition, geographic location and facility technology must be properly considered. A hydrogenerator consists of a generator and a turbine. The generator consists of stators and rotators, slip rings, and brushes. Turbine types are divided into Francis, Kaplan, Felton, and cross-flow, depending on the fall head. K-Water's multi-purpose dam hydrogenerators usually use Francis wheels. Let's look at the power generation flow of the hydropower generator. The water from the dam through the penstock and the inlet valve generates electricity by rotating the rotor of the generator connected to the runner through the guide vane for discharge control. Although hydropower power generation, which can utilize abundant water resources in the dam, has advantages such as relatively easy maintenance of facilities, low operating costs, pollution-free, and water management for flood and drought prevention. Meanwhile, the construction period of the dam is long and expensive, and the construction area is limited. Recently, we are developing efficiency and capability as replacing old generating facilities installed in the 70s and 80s with advanced turbines and changing outdoor iron balls to GIS. Second, photovoltaic power. Floating photovoltaic power is a convergence between solar energy and marine technology. It is an eco-friendly power generation facility that installs solar modules on the surface of the dam. Solar cells are generators that directly convert optical energy received from the sun into electrical energy. The materials of solar cells are generally semiconductors, such as silicon, and composed of 2 types, N and P, with different electrical properties. When light comes into contact with solar cells, the optical energy is absorbed into the solar cells, and photoelectric effect creates negative electrons and positive holes, and the negative electrons go into N layers, and positive holes into P layers to produce electricity. The smallest cells in a solar panel constitute modules and arrays in series and parallel, and determine the magnitude of voltage and current. The floating PV power plant largely consists of 5 main components, such as solar modules, floaters, mooring units, underwater cables, and connection facilities. It is distinctly different from the solar power plant on the land. The floating PV power plant uses eco-friendly modules with higher performance in waterproof and rust-proof than those on the land. Floaters allow the solar modules to float on the surface of the water stably. Floaters should minimize buoyancy loss due to water inflow in the event of damage. Elastic mooring units are used to respond to changes in the water level of the dam and to make the structure face the sun. Also, a direct current transmission underwater cable is installed to transfer electricity produced by solar modules to the land inverter. There are connecting facilities, such as inverters and a substation, for applying electricity to the power system. Advantages of floating photovoltaic power are as follows. As a substitute for coal thermal power generation, it can reduce fine dust and greenhouse gas emissions and effectively use lands through the installation without indiscriminate damage to mountains or farmlands. In addition, the cooling effect of the dam surface can increase the power generation efficiency compared to the land solar power. It is also used to increase the number of fish by installing a farm under the solar power system. It has the effect of suppressing algae blooming by blocking sunlight. As of 2019, K-Water was operating 5.8 megawatt of flowering solar power plants in Hapcheon Dam, Boryong Dam, and Chungju Dam, and plans to develop 2.6 gigawatt by 2030. Third, hydrothermal energy. Hydrothermal energy is a renewable energy that converts water temperature into thermal energy based on the characteristics of water, which has greater specific heat than air. In winter, it uses the properties of water cooler than air to generate thermal energy for the heating system. In the hydrothermal energy generation plant, water is heated and cooled by a heat pump. When cooling is needed, water passing through the pipeline absorbs and releases hot heat from the building through the heat pump. When heating is required, heat is taken from the hot water to warm up the room and release cold water again. A key of hydrothermal energy, a heat pump. Let's take a look at the structure of the heat pump. The heat pump consists of 4 elements such as compressor, condenser, expansion valve, and evaporator. When air conditioning is needed, gaseous refrigerant is compressed at high temperature and high pressure. Gaseous refrigerant changes to liquid and the temperature drops. Liquid refrigerant changes to aerosol and the temperature and pressure decrease. Liquid refrigerant evaporates and absorbs surrounding heat and enters the compressor again. When heating is operated, the 4-way valve reverses the direction of the refrigerant so that it can be heated using hydrothermal energy. Hydrothermal energy is cost-effective and eco-friendly, as it has the advantage of gaining a lot of heating and cooling energy from a small energy supply based on the temperature energy in nature. It is widely used in advanced countries. K-Water has installed the hydrothermal energy systems in 13 locations since 2006 and is actively carrying out hydrothermal energy projects using raw water through regional pipelines and dam water. Fourth, tidal power generation. Tidal power generation is renewable energy that generates electricity twice a day using tidal differences during flood tide and ebb tide. The Shiwaho Lake Tidal Power Plant, located in Shiwa Industrial Complex, which is the world's largest tidal power plant, completed in 2011. It adopts a single-flow flood tide way that generates power during flood tide for maintaining safe water level. The single-action tidal power generation of Shiwaho is a method of generating electricity through seawater inflow by using the water level difference between open sea and inland sea when the tide is high. When the fall head is 2 meters or higher, the power generation is allowed. When it reaches the limited level of Shiwaho Lake in the inland sea, the power generation is stopped. Water is released through water gates and generators when the open sea level is lowered. Tidal power generation is a specialized method on the basis of the tidal differences. Unlike other power plants, we have our own tidal power operation program for efficient operation. KTOP is a tidal power operation program with international PCT applications, domestic patent and copyright, and good software certification. K-Water possesses core maintenance technologies such as disassembly and inspection for tidal power plant operation through the Shiwa plant. Since tidal power generation gets an infinite clean energy from the ocean, it can be the most ideal renewable energy, unlike solar and wind power generation, which are affected by weather conditions. tidal energy is very efficient compared to other power sources in terms of operational efficiency and annual energy production. So far, we have learned about domestic and international renewable energy policies to mitigate the climate change crisis and K-Water's renewable energy projects using clean water energy. Thank you.